All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Torah Studies. This is our weekly look at the Torah portion, which this week is Vayishlach. So we are in the heart of the drama of the story of Yaakov, which will then soon lead to the drama of the story of Yosef/Joseph. But today we're going to look at one of the more mysterious episodes in the Torah, where the Torah itself almost seems to go out of its way to be vague, and that is the famous wrestling match between Jacob and
the angel.
The angel. Maybe an angel, maybe a man, maybe no one. Tonight we get to the heart of this and to the bottom of the mystery. Who was Jacob wrestling with and why? The best way to do this, the only way to do this, is to look inside the original text. So here's how I want to do it. We're going to read text number 1. It's a lot. It's not too bad. I want to read it anyway. And then we'll go around the table after I read text 1. I'm going to read this text. Here's your not homework, but here's what I want you guys to do. As I read, I want you to come up with all of the questions that you can. Now, I do this. I'm teaching a class now Thursdays in Toko called Secrets of the Bible. And we do this similar type of style where we read the passages and then I open up for questions, then I ask my questions, and we answer it. And that's what we're going to do tonight as well. I'm going to read the verses. You ask as I'm reading, follow along, think of the questions. There's no limit to the questions, so keep them coming. I will ask my questions, and then here's the rest of the construct of the class. I'm going to present the most classic way of understanding this story as taught by Rashi, the foremost biblical commentary, as well as the Midrash. So we'll go like, I don't mean basic in a basic way, but I mean like core, the most core way of understanding it. And then we're going to get to a more mystical interpretation that will knock your proverbial socks off. That's the plan. Okay? Yes? I'm ready. Yes. I'm going to answer my own question. Yes. All right. So let's begin with text numeral uno, i.e. text number 1, Genesis chapter 32, Lev, which is heart. The heart of Genesis says the following. And he arose, Jacob. All right, I know I just started, but I feel like I want to pause. Okay, here we go. What a tease. Where we left off with Jacob, he had spent 22 years with his uncle and father-in-law, same guy, Lavan or Laban. He had married not one but 2 wives and had children from another 2 women, i.e. 4 women in total. The 11 out of 12 sons plus a daughter, Dinah. And then at the end of last week's Torah portion, he left in the middle of the night, took his family, and then later on was caught up to by Lavan, who says to him, "Why'd you run away?" He's like, "Why did I run away? What do you think? I'm trying to escape." Anyway, he runs away, and they end by making a treaty and a pact. And as we leave off last week's Torah portion, Jacob is on his way back home, and he's preparing for an encounter with his twin brother and spiritual nemesis and a rival known as Esav or Esau. All right, so here we go. This is the night before, the encounter. The Torah says the following. And he arose that night, the night before he meets his brother, and he took his 2 wives, that would be Leah and Rachel, and his 2 maidservants, Bilhah and Zilpah, and his 11 children. That's referring to the boys. All right, Dinah was around also, but here we go, 11 children, 11 sons. And he crossed the ford of the Jabbok. The Jabbok ford. What's a ford? Don't tell me it's a car. It's also a car. But what's a ford in this context? A stream? Is that what a ford is?
Like the head of a stream.
The head of a stream?
It's actually the part where it's shallower.
Okay, well, there you go. And he took them, next verse 24, and he took them and brought, remember, think of questions. And he took them and brought them across the stream. And he took across, what was this? And Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. When he saw that he could not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip became dislocated, as he wrestled with him. And the man said, let me go, for dawn is breaking. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you have blessed me. So he said to him, what's your name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, Yisrael, because you have commanding power with God and with men, and you have prevailed. And Jacob asked and said, now tell me your name. And he said, why is it that you ask for my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob named the place Peniel, for he said, I saw a man of God face to face, and my soul was saved. And that is the story of Jacob's wrestling match. Not the main card on the WWE WrestleMania, but nonetheless a dramatic story in the Bible, in the Torah, and in Jewish history. So I ask for your questions. Please ask any and all questions. What do you got?
I never knew that it was called I've seen the man of God. I've seen the face of God as a translation. Yeah. Man of God makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, Peniel is like Pene, like the face of, and then Kel, Hashem's name. Yeah, the face of God. Good. So interesting turn of phrase. Yeah.
Israel is fighting with God.
Okay, so the question is, good. So the question is, what does Israel mean? Fighting with God, commanding powers, says, with God and with man. What does that actually mean? Commanding power with God and with men. Okay, good. Next question. More questions. Keep them coming. Not going to answer them right now, but I'm collecting questions.
Why was he left alone?
Good. Why was he left alone? What does that even mean? Good. What else? That's what we're going to say?
Well, I guess two things. One, if he was fighting all night and wrestling and didn't seem to get any injury, but then the guy touched the socket of his hip, that seems like touch doesn't sound like it should have been enough of a
good
thing.
That's wow. Yeah. Nice. Okay, good. So the question is, just to repeat it so everyone can hear. So it says that verse 25, a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn, and it seems like he's fine. And then when he saw he could not prevail against him, so he touched the socket of his hip, and that was enough to dislocate it. What is that? Well, how does that happen? Just touching the socket of the hip doesn't sound like it would do too much damage. Okay.
Didn't it all have been a dream?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, right. Like the last episode of Charles in Charge. How disappointing. How disappointing that the entire series ends as a dream. I'm kidding. Right? Yeah, it's like the whole thing is like, oh, maybe it's a dream. Good. How do we know it's real? All right, good. That's a good question. Next. Next.
Where does the idea of angels come from?
Where does the angel come from? Okay.
What's
yes.
in the Hebrew?
There's no mention of Hebrew. Ish vayavek ish imo, and a man wrestled with him. Good. Well, what else?
An angel only has one job.
Angel has one job.
Is over with, he's gone.
Can you imagine if the angel's one job was to defeat Yaakov, and he's like, I can't even do that? Seriously, how disappointing.
So in the Hebrew, is the word for man Adam or what?
Ish.
Ish. Oh.
Ish. Oh. Yeah, there's different names for human in Torah. There's Adam, Ish, Enosh, and Gever. They refer to different like dimensions, So
physical, what does emotional. The Ish dimension refer to? What is that all about?
I don't remember the difference between Adam and Ish. I don't remember. Ish might be the highest level, actually. Ish, yeah. I think it's the highest level. Maybe the spiritual. What else? Yeah.
Why doesn't Dina count as a child?
Good. I'm assuming, one second.
She would have been one of the 11 children.
No. There were 12. No, yeah, there were 11 boys and girls. How come she's not counted? I want to see.
Benjamin yet.
Hold on. Okay.
Right?
Okay, I'll tell you why. Because in the Hebrew, it's Achad Asar Yiladav.
Oh, so it actually says boy.
Yaled is a boy.
Okay.
Yalda is girl. So it's really mistranslated. It should be, and his 11 sons and whatever, which doesn't necessarily answer the question.
Yeah, because then why leave her out?
Yeah, why leave her out? And I will tell you, I didn't want to mention this earlier, but I will now, just to mix things up a little bit, not to answer, but only to ask more questions. I believe it says that each of the sons was born with a twin. You guys ever heard that one?
Yeah.
The Midrashic thing?
Midrash, right?
Yeah, it's a Midrash. So How come they're not counted at all? We don't even know anything about them. All right, listen. Good, more questions. All right, any more questions?
Why is it that you asked for my name?
Which one?
30.
Verse 30. And he said, Jacob asked and said, now tell me your name. And the other party said, why is it that you asked for my name? And he blessed him there, which implies that he didn't answer the question. He's like, you don't need to know my name. No, I'm kidding. That's not what happened. But he's like, you don't need to know my name, right? He just gave him the blessing, and that was it. Good. All right. So here are my questions. I have 4 questions. It almost sounds like Passover, but here we go. Question, and some of these will be a little bit of a repetition of what you guys asked. Some will be a little bit new. And my hope is that as we go through kind of the more typical understanding as well as the deeper mystical understanding, that a lot of the questions will be answered either directly or indirectly. Okay, so my 4 questions are, the first question, let me pull this back up on the screen. My first question is on verse 25. Okay, if you look at verse 25, the verse says, Jacob was left alone and a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. So a few questions on this. And again, some of this is repetitive because it was asked before. But number 1, what does it mean that he was left alone? Why was he left alone? Where was he left alone? For what purpose was he left alone? Was it intentional? Was it an accident? Was it like, what was going on over there with his being left alone? All right, next. And a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. Who is this man? Now, a lot of you said angel. Again, it doesn't really say angel. It just says a man, Vayavek ish imo, a man and ish wrestled with him. Who is this man? Why are we not told anything else about this man?
It also begs the question, how could he be alone and then all of a sudden there's this man? If there's a man, he's not alone.
Love it. Excellent question. I wasn't even going to ask that question, but that's a great question. If he's alone, then who's the man? And if there's a man, then he's not alone. So you're telling me, nah, what it means is he was alone from his family. Well, I mean, I'll tell you this. If a person gets separated from their party and then someone else is there, you might want to say that he got separated from his party. You're not going to say that he's alone. It could work. I can see it go both ways, but it's not technically or literally alone if there's another party there. That's an excellent question. We will address that in the course of tonight's conversation. What is the meaning of wrestle with him? Why? What is the meaning of the wrestling? Why is this? Okay, like it's so bizarre. So he's alone, and then there's a guy, which again, we don't know who he is and how Jacob will be alone, but okay, whatever. Let's just assuming that makes sense. But what's with the wrestling? He wrestled with him until the break of dawn. Why is he like, who does that? It's like, oh, sir, I see you're alone. Let me go ahead and wrestle with you. Just seems a little bizarre. And then let's keep on going. What happens in the morning? So somehow in the morning, there's a dislocation of the hip. We're just going to ask questions on that. Why the hip specifically? You know what? Let me ask it. Why does this opponent of Jacob, why does he specifically go after Jacob's hip? Right? I mean, it's hip to be hip, but like, what's with the hip? Then you have the next question, which is, so what happens in the morning? What's the resolution with this whole encounter? The resolution is the guy says to him, what's your name? And he says, Jacob. That's verse 28. To clarify, verse 28. What is the other party says to Jacob, what is your name? A little bit of a weird thing. I mean, you don't even know the guy's name and you're attacking him? Like, how does that make any sense? It's like, I decided to wrestle with you all night long, and now I want to know, who are you? I mean, like a situation where there's like a hit put out. I'm not saying there should be a hit or should not be a hit. I'm just saying if that were the case, you would think you would have identified the victim of your attack. And here he's like, oh, tell me your name. Tell you my name? Like, why were we even fighting? You don't even know who I am. All right, next. Then he says, oh, by the way, now that you told me your name, I'm going to change your name. Your name shall not only be called Jacob, but rather Israel. That's a weird resolution to a conflict. A bit of a name change. Who does that? Again, it's all very bizarre. And then verse 30, as was asked here in the class, what does it mean when Jacob says, now tell me your name? It seems like they're exchanging contacts. This is a time before cell phone and business cards. Like, what's your name? Jacob. No, it's not Jacob, nor it's Israel. Okay, what's your name? Oh, I'm not going to tell you. What? Who does that? I asked you your name. You told me. I fooled her. I messed with your name. And now you ask me my name. I'm not going to tell you. Like, that seems super bizarre, right? And Again, I said 4 questions. I'm sure I asked about 8 to 10 questions just now. So never trust me when I say 4 questions. Apparently, it's like the Seder. There's never only 4 questions. I mean, I don't think so. So what's going on with this whole story? To summarize, who is this person that's fighting? Or who is this being that's fighting with Jacob? Why are they fighting in the first place? What's the deal with the hip? What's the deal with the whole name question? What's your name? What's your name? Why the name change? Why is he ignoring the request for his name? Why the other party ignoring the name? Okay, fine. Good. These are the questions. So, like I said before, kind of in outlining the class, I want to do the classic understanding and then go much, much deeper to the point that it's going to get trippy. That's the goal. The goal of tonight is to get trippy. Oh, and then to end with a powerful takeaway that I think we can all apply to our lives immediately. Okay, so before we get trippy, let's get straightforward. The straightforward explanation, and this is the one that's cited by Rashi, quoting the Midrash, is that this story is the final chapter of a saga, a drama, a struggle, and a battle that began at the birth of these twin boys. So let's just rewind and recap what happened at their birth. Remember, Isaac and Rebekah, Yitzchak and Rivka had difficulty having a child. Finally, Rebekah gets pregnant. Vayisrotzatzu habanim b'kirba. The fetuses were kind of struggling within her. V'tomer imkeim lamazah nochi. She says, if so, what is this about? Why am I here? Why did I want to be pregnant in the first place? She's struggling with it. She gets told, Shnei lu'umim b'vitnech. There are 2 nations in your womb, right? That's what there's a massive struggle. And then the Torah talks about the birth. The first one came out hairy, ruddy. Is that a word? Is that what it says?
Mm-hmm.
Ruddy? I don't even know what ruddy is. Huh?
Reddish.
Reddish. Ready? Is ruddy the same as ready?
No, it's the same as reddish.
Reddish, okay. Reddish is the Jewish version of Reddit. It's like reddish. It's like, reddish. Anyway, so yeah, and then the second one is, and he's named Esav, the hairy one. And then the second one emerges, and his skin is smooth, the Torah tells us. And he's called Yaakov. And my question to you is, can you recall the meaning of the name Yaakov and why he was called Yaakov?
Heel.
Heel.
He was holding on to his heel.
He was holding on to his heel. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
No.
First of all, it's a little weird, right?
Yeah.
So out comes Esav. And as Esav emerges, you have the second one, Yaakov, and he's holding onto the heel, little slip and slide, like woo, like coming out, holding onto the heel of his brother. What does that imply? Why is he holding the heel? Can someone tell me? What was he trying to do?
You wanted to get out first.
That's it. That's the answer. That's the answer. Our sages say he was holding onto the heel. He was trying to grab him, pull him back in, and get out first. Which means from the beginning, or I'm going to say moments before the beginning, even before their birth, what is the struggle? What is the fight over? The firstborn. Who will be the firstborn? This is the entire struggle from the beginning, from moments before the birth itself. They're fighting over who's going to be born first. And by the way, Rashi, it's not here in our text. We're going to do some text in a second. Rashi has a very interesting, I don't know if it's beautiful, very interesting and compelling analogy. And he used the analogy of a tube. This is what it's in his words, not mine. He says, imagine you have a tube and you place 2 items inside, right? Think about it. Let me explain this. Imagine you have a tube, right? A tube, and you put 2 things inside, right? Which one comes out first?
The one you put in last.
The one you put in last. I mean, he could have used the moving truck analogy, right? You pack a truck, right? Yeah, imagine a truck. You pack in, oh yeah, suitcase, pack in suitcases. Take an Uber from the airport with some friends. You pack up the trunk of the car. Yeah, which suitcases are coming out first? The one that was put in last. So again, Rashi's analogy, not mine. Who was put in first, as it were? Yaakov. Yeah, put in first, as it were. Second, Esav. But Esav is going to be born first. So Yaakov comes along and says, not so fast, grabs the heel. Well, it's too late. Esav is born first. What's the next story that we have between these two boys? It's unbelievable. If you think about what we know about the stories, their interactions, it's all around the same struggle. What's the next story? The lentils. Esav comes. The only stories we know about their interaction, it's all about the same fight. Esav is hungry. Yaakov says, I'll give you food if the price is right. No, if what? Sell me the birthright. Again, the birthright. The next story. Fast forward a while. I mean, we know about the personalities. This guy liked to hunt. This guy liked to study, whatever. But what about their personal interactions? The next story with their interaction is Isaac's blessings. He wants to bless his older son. Yaakov takes the blessings. Again, the struggle, and then Esau finds out about it and now wants to kill him. Again, the struggle is about the firstborn. It's always about that. Who is first and who is second? The heel, who's first, who's second? The lentils, who's first, who's second? The blessings, who's first, who's second? And then Yaakov runs away. And now he's coming back 22 years later. And so Rashi didn't make up his commentary. It always comes from some sort of midrashic or older source. Rashi comes along and he says, you know what's going on here? Who is he struggling with? This is the night before he's going to meet his brother. And he'll need to resolve the issue once and for all on the ground. This is like the final battle or the final encounter. And so he is encountering the night before Esav's spiritual angel. That is what Rashi explains. All right. Rashi explains it is the angel. Scott, please read text number 2a. And let's take a look at Rashi.
And a man wrestled. Our rabbis explained this was the guardian angel of Esau.
Now, what does it mean, guardian angel? So without getting into the particulars of what a guardian angel is and why they're guardian angels, etc., it's bottom line is the spiritual energy, force, angel, whatever of Esav. The night before he met with the physical Esav, he met with his spiritual counterpart, the guardian angel. And what was the fight about? Here we go. The fight was about, what was the fight about? The fight was about who should have the spiritual legacy of the firstborn. And they wrestled all night, and the angel could not best or defeat Yaakov, Jacob. So what happens in the morning? Let's continue. Scott, one more 2b, please. Actually, we'll do a few more 2b.
Unless you have blessed me, Jacob told the angel, acknowledge for me the blessings my father blessed me with, the ones Esau is contesting.
There we go. In the morning, he says, let me go, says the angel. And Jacob says, I'm not letting you go unless you have blessed me. And what does that mean, says Rashi? In this whole narrative arc, acknowledge for me the blessings my father blessed me with, the ones Esau is contesting. We are still locked in conflict over these blessings. I want you as the angel, as Esau's angel, to once and for all acknowledge that I was right and I was justified and I was correct in taking the blessings because I got the firstborn rights in that sale, or maybe even from birth or from before birth, however you want to understand it. I was right and justified to take the blessings. I want you to acknowledge this. Text 2c, and indeed the angel does in his name change of Yaakov. Take it away.
Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, Yaakov. It shall no longer be said that the blessings came to you through trickery, akava, and deceit, but with nobility, sharara, and openness. Ultimately, God will reveal himself to you in Bethel and change your name, and there he will bless you. And I shall be there and admit your right to the blessing.
There you go. Look at that. Look at that. Comes along the angel and says, you win. You win. I concede. We can, on behalf, as the spokesperson for Esav. I am officially acknowledging that you win, we lose, you're right, you deserved it. It's no longer will our narrative be that you got the blessings through trickery, through Yaakov, not only means heel, but also general trickery, but rather sharara in a way of right, nobility. In other words, that you were justified in getting the blessings. And when God ultimately changes your name, I will concede and admit your right to the blessings. And that, my friends, is what we call a not full circle. It's really closing the narrative up. So what begins at birth, kind of this struggle, this fight over who's first and who's second and who has the firstborn, who's the real firstborn. So I mean, Esau's born first, but who's the real, who's the real Bechar? Who's the real, who's got the legacy? Who's going to get the legacy? So that becomes a struggle that goes on for decades. I even said decades in a weird way to emphasize it. Decades long. That's a struggle that begins with the imagery of Yaakov grabbing onto Esau's heel to try to schlep him back in to get out first. That doesn't work. He buys the blessings. Then he takes the blessings, by pretending to be his brother, and then his brother wants to kill him, and then he's fighting with the angel, and ultimately it all leads to the culmination where the angel says, fine, you win, we lose, you deserve it, we concede, and what happens the next day? We didn't even read it, but if you know the story, what happens the next day when he meets his brother? What does Esav do?
Hugs him, kisses him.
He hugs him and kisses him. What about all the animosity? What about all the, you stole my blessings? Well, the night before, it was resolved on some level, on some sort of spiritual level with Esav's angel. And, what does that actually look like and how does that work? I don't know. But somehow on some level, it was resolved. And so the next morning, when the two physical brothers actually meet, there's no fighting, there's no punching, there's not even pinching. Right? Can you imagine? Not even a little tweak to the earlobe, nothing, garnished. Just a hug and a kiss and let's hang out, let's do this more often. And Yaakov says, all right, we'll do it. And then, that's kind of how the story ends. Okay. Make sense? It's a beautiful story. It all comes together. I mean, Rashi's narrative makes sense. And we've answered, I think, a lot of the questions.
But he still
to go back to my original questions, who was the man? The man was not a man. The man was an angel. Why was he fighting with him? He was fighting him over the same fight. It's not a new fight. It's the same fight over the blessings. Yaakov prevails, and so he asks him his name, and then he says, I'm changing your name. Why? That seems weird. Again, the reason for the name change is to indicate that you won, we concede, you win, you deserve it. We won't call you a thief anymore. We're giving it to you. You got it. And that's it. We didn't answer, though, a few questions. Number one, why the hip?
And why the Israel?
Oh, Yisrael. No, Yisrael we answered. Yisrael means, Yaakov connotes trickery, deceit, and treachery. Yisrael connotes shrara, meaning nobility.
Oh, but I always heard it meant fighting with God.
Contending. Well, that's what the Torah says. But Rashi reimagines it. It could also mean like a sar, like a minister. Okay. Sar, I think even modern Hebrew, sar means minister. Yeah. Means like you're the boss. Like we concede, you got it. Okay, fine.
Why did it have to stop before dawn?
Well, Rashi explains that also. So Rashi says that the angel, since it's an angel, according to Rashi, so angels have to leave in the morning because they have to pray to God. And so the angel was saying, I got to go. Like my mission, I timed out on my mission, I got to go. And Jacob said, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me. And that was part of the deal. So Rashi fits that whole, it's dawn, why did I have to break up at dawn? Rashi fits that into the narrative neatly with it being an angel. That's Rashi's narrative. And by the way, if you study Torah, if you study as a kid, usually you're taught, in yeshiva or whatever it is, you're usually taught the Chumash with Rashi, the Torah text with Rashi's, basic, fundamental, essential commentary. So this is the narrative that you've heard. If you've studied, I would think most editions of the Chumash, the Torah, it'll probably say something like it was Esav's angel. But today we're going to go deeper and a little bit more mysterious and mystical. And the way we're going to do this is by quoting a new commentary. When I say new, I don't mean he's like brand new. He's very old. He's a grandson, one of the grandsons of Rashi. And he was known as the Rashbam. The Rashbam is Rabbi Shmuel ben Meir. Rabbi Shmuel ben Meir, the acronym of which is the Rashbam. And Rashbam lived, as we'll see in the bio over here, 1085 to 1158. So he lived, I don't know, 800, 900 years ago. He lived a long time. The Rashbam has a very fascinating take on this whole thing. And essentially, he answers the question. The core question is that he's addressing is, why did Yaakov get hit in the leg? And he explains, because Yaakov was trying to run away. That's what he says. He says Yaakov was trying to run away from this encounter, run away from his mission. And therefore, God sent a messenger, essentially, to stop Yaakov from running away from where he needed to be. Let's read this inside. It's a very imaginative. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a very complimentary way. It's a very imaginative interpretation, and it's going to be really, really beautiful. So let's begin with 4a. We're going to skip text 3. So 4a, and Dasi, please read.
And he arose that night. Jacob intended to flee by a different route, and that's why he crossed the river at night. We find the same with David when he fled from Absalom. He, too, traveled through these same places along the Jordan and Machanaim that Jacob had passed, and at night. And Jacob was left alone, meaning he had already brought over everything he owned. There was no one left to cross but him. He wanted to cross after them because he was planning to escape by a different route so that Esau wouldn't encounter him.
Listen to what the Rashbam is saying. He wasn't just randomly crossing a river on his way to meet his brother. He was planning on crossing a river to escape from meeting his brother. Okay? Meaning he was not planning on meeting his brother the next morning. He was attempting to run away from that encounter. Let's read text 4b. So what happens at the end? Dasi, please continue 4b. This is the same commentary, the Rashbam continuing his analysis.
And a man wrestled. An angel wrestled with him to stop him from escaping, so that he would be forced to face the situation and witness the fulfillment of God's promise, namely that Esau would not harm him.
Okay. Essentially, God had promised Jacob he would be okay. And now Jacob was like, yeah, but I'm still scared. So I'm going to run away. And so God's like, yeah, you're not going to run away. I'm not going to let you run away. And to prove it, I'm going to send an angel who's going to wrestle with you all night, kind of keep you tied down. And then in the morning, you know what he's going to do? What's he going to do? Dislocate your hip. And you know what happens if, God forbid, someone has a dislocated hip? What can't they do? They can't run.
You're not running.
You're not running too far. You're not going to escape too far. So you gotta face the music, right? God says, I want you to encounter your brother. And you say, well, you know what? I got this dentist appointment lined up. I really got to run. I'm so sorry. I'll do it another time. I'll face the hard things another time. Ever have that? You ever have that in life where you need to do something difficult and you're like, let me push that off. Let me not do that now. Like I don't want to deal with the hard stuff now. So let me escape. And it's not like Yaakov hadn't escaped before, right? He ran away from his brother 22 years ago. He ran away from his uncle / father-in-law just days or nights before. I mean, can we just say, without being, disrespectful, that Yaakov was a runner? He was a runner. He was a flight. He was a flight. He was a fight or flight. He was a flighter. He preferred the path of least resistance in the sense of not like facing the demons, not facing the challenges head on. He was like, things are getting difficult. I'm just going to go check on the roast in the oven. I'll be back when things are calm. That was his kind of modus Operandi. That's how he was operating. He's like, one day, one day, Esav, you and I will have that meeting, but not right now. Not right now. Right now, I got a river to cross and so many little things to take care of. I got all these little details. I got this whole family that I gotta tend to and everything. And God's like, really? You're trying to run away? Who also tried to run away from God? Jonah. Remember Jonah?
Jonah,
The guy's like,
well.
yeah, he's like, oh yeah, God, you gave me mission. Nah, I'm not gonna do it. God says, you're not gonna escape, bro. Like, it's not gonna happen. Oh, you want to run away from your mission? No, you're not. I'll swallow you with a whale and then spit you out on dry land after a lot of difficulty. And then God's like, now you're ready? I mean, because we could do it again. We could totally do it again. If you want to round two, we can round two it. Yeah, you know who else was trying to shirk his mission? I mean, we'll see this in the Rashbam. Moshe Rabbeinu. God says, here's your mission. Go to Pharaoh and tell him, let my people go. And Moses like, yeah, not for me. And God's like, really? Really? And by the way, anytime one of these biblical figures says to God, I don't like your plan, not only does God say, well, it's happening, but God also makes it known that he's not happy with a person that tries to evade the destiny that he is setting forth. That is not a thing to do, right? When God has given you a plan, you best follow the path. Take a look-see at text 4c. Das, if you don't mind, one more, please.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
How would that impact free will? Like, if these people are saying, like, we don't want to do it, but God's like, I'm going to make you do it.
So where does free will come in? I think free will comes in. I think free will still comes in. And I think that if we thought about it, like not together, but individually, like in our heart of hearts, we will realize that the greatest pain in our lives has been when we have been trying to run away from the path that God is sending us down. I really believe that. Maybe not the greatest, but some of the greatest difficulty and pain has been when we try to evade what it is that we are destined, charged, empowered, responsible to take care of. It's those relationships that keep on coming up. It's the same, maybe a different name in a different context, but it's the same type of situation that repeats itself until we get it right. And there's so much pain in running away from that which we need to face. That doesn't mean that Moses didn't have free choice. He could have walked away, but it would have just gotten more difficult. But that's what happens to all of us, I think. I don't think God takes away the free choice, but he just implies that it's in our best interest to follow what he wants us to do. All right, let's take a look at text 4c.
Why was Jacob struck and limping? Because God had promised to protect him, and yet he tried to run away. We find this pattern with anyone who travels against God's will or resists his mission. They are punished. With Moses, it says, send through someone else. And the next verse reads, God's anger burned against Moses. The sages say that whenever God's anger is mentioned, it leaves a mark. What mark is there here? The answer, it is not Aaron. Is not Aaron your brother the Levite? He was meant to be a Levite and a Kohen, but now he will be the Kohen and you will be the Levite.
So in that narrative, when God and Moses are negotiating, so Moses says no, and then God gets angry and he says, is not Aaron your brother the Levite? And amazingly, and I don't know how often we pay attention to that verse, Exodus 4:14, where God is calling Aaron the Levite, but we know that Aaron became the Kohen and Moses was the Levite. And so the implication here is the mashma'ut, right? What seems to be happening here is that initially Aaron was to be the Levite, Moses the Kohen, and it got flipped as a punishment for Moses trying to run away from this mission. God's like, okay, not a Kohen anymore. Your brother will be the Kohen. You'll be the Levite. You're going to wash his hands, right? All right, let's continue.
More straightforwardly, since Moses delayed going, it says, on the way at the inn, Hashem encountered him and sought to kill him.
And that's also like a wild story when they were traveling to Egypt. And anyway, there was an attack and a very dangerous situation happened, and it got resolved at the last minute, but there was an attempt on Moses' life or his son's life.
The same with Jonah, who was swallowed by the fish. And with Balaam, God's anger flared because he went, and he became lame. As it says, she crushed Balaam's foot, and later he went halting.
So if God wants you to go and you say no, it's not going to be good. If God says don't go and you go anyway, well, guess what? It's also not going to end well. The point is, it's always good to listen to Hashem. That's the point. So in our context, let's not lose the plot here. In our context, what happens? Jacob is trying to, according to this, is trying to run away. According to the Rashbam, is trying to run away in the middle of the night, creating a new route, crossing the stream with his family, trying to escape, exit stage left. And God's like, no, not going to happen. I'm going to send an angel after you, and then he's going to strike you, and you're going to be limping. And whether that's a punishment or a consequence or a tool to ensure, or a method to ensure that he doesn't run away, I'll let you choose. I have my opinion on it, which I already shared. I think it was ensuring that he didn't escape, which again gets to the question of free choice. I mean, could he have not holed up in a cabin? I don't know if there were cabins then. He could have. But at some point, he probably just acknowledged, like, I got to meet my brother, and that's going to be it. So bottom line is, that is the way that the Rashbam understands it. I want to let's now do Jonathan Sachs. No one writes like Jonathan
Sachs. Can I just
Sachs.
add something? Didn't Adam and Eve also try to run away or hide?
Adam tried to hide. Yeah. I mean, they straight up violated the mission and got punished.
So
I think it's slightly different here. Someone has a calling and they run away. I mean, you could draw a parallel, but that would make every sin the same. I think this is more of like God trying to send the person in a certain direction and then saying, I don't like that direction, or vice versa. All right, let's take a look at text number 5. Remind me your name, Sarah. All right, Sarah, please read text number 5 from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs.
They were afraid, essentially, of their mission. Moses kept telling Hashem at the burning bush, "Who am I? You don't believe in me. I am not a man of words." Jonah was reluctant to deliver a message from Hashem to Israel's enemies. And Jacob had just said to God, "I am unworthy of all the kindness and faith that you have shown me." Nor were these the only people in Tanakh who had this kind of fear. So did the prophet Isaiah when he said to Hashem, "I am a man of unclean lips." So did Jeremiah when he said, "I cannot speak, I am a child." This is not physical fear. It is the fear that comes from a feeling of personal inadequacy. Who am I to lead the Jewish people? Asked Moses. Who am I to deliver the word of Hashem? Asked the prophets. Who am I to stand for my brother Esau, knowing that I will continue the covenant and he will not? Asked Jacob. Sometimes the greatest have the least self-confidence because they know how immense is the responsibility and how small they feel in relation to it. Courage does not mean having no fear. It means having fear but overcoming it. If that is true of physical courage, it is no less true of moral and spiritual courage.
Isn't that powerful?
Yeah.
I mean, so many things to unpack there, but I love that line at the end of the second to last paragraph. Sometimes the greatest have the least self-confidence because they know how immense is the responsibility and how small they feel in relation to it. There's a psychological term for this, and we've discussed this in other contexts. It's called imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome sounds like such a big concept and whatever, but it manifests itself in so many ways, big and small. And it is essentially the feeling of who am I to do this? Who am I to stand up and give and deliver this address? Who am I to lead this team? Who am I to voice my opinion? Who am I to, stand up and defend for what's right? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And the real response is, who are you not to? Like, how can you be in a position where you can do something noble and right and correct and fix a wrong or fulfill a mission that God entrusts you and then shy away from it? You were given the opportunity. You were empowered for this moment. You are here for this, and now you're going to back away? Now you're going to back off, right? It's like, how arrogant do you have to be so humble at a time like this? Don't ask me to repeat that line, but I think it came out really nice, right? Like, I'm going to do it again because I think I still got it. How arrogant do you have to be? It's going to fall apart now. To be humble at a time like this. Now we don't need your humility. Now is not the time to be self-righteous. Imagine someone's in danger and you can help them. You say, who am I? I'm not a big deal. I'm not a big shot. I'm just a simple guy. You're a simple guy. Sure, you're a simple guy. You still got to get it done. You and all your simpleness, you still need to get it done. No, God tells Moses, can you please take my people out of enslavement? And he's like, yeah, but I don't know if I'm the right guy. And God's like, why are you making this about you? If you're really humble, you're not overthinking the room. If you're really humble, you'll just do it because that's what the moment calls for. To say, who am I? I don't know. I don't know if I'm worthy. That's the ultimate form of arrogance. That means you're only thinking about yourself and not the cause in the moment. The most humble people are the ones who do it even if it's going to make them look good, because it's not about them. It's not about them before. It's not about them during. It's not about them afterwards. They just have to get it done. And because they have to get it done, because the mission needs to be accomplished, that's it. So it turns out that there's something phenomenal happening. It turns out that when Yaakov, according to the Rashbam, when Yaakov, the night before his encounter, says, I know God is sending me and directing me into this reconciliation. I know God wants me to meet my brother and to, work things out. I'm a little uncomfortable, and God promised my safety and security, but I'm a little scared. I'm a little this. I'm a little that. You know what's happening? I. God says go, and all you're thinking about is me. I'm scared. I'm this. I'm frightened. I don't know if it's the right thing. Me. And so the message is, it's valid to be afraid. No one's going to knock fear. We'll acknowledge it. We'll pray for you, but you still got to get it done. Don't run away. Don't run away from the mission. Now is not the time to run away from the mission. Make sense? Let's go one step deeper. You ready? One step deeper. You remember the movie Fight Club? Yeah, from back in the day. You had who was in that? Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. Yes? Yeah. Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. And Irv, you remember that? This is the Kabbalah of Brad Pitt. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Someone alert his agent. So you remember, like, the whole film goes on, and there's these guys fighting, and then at the end, it turns out at the end, it's only one guy. Yeah. And all of the scenes, he was fighting himself. Oh, did I just give away the movie? Oh, so sorry. So sorry, y'all. It's been like 20 years. If you haven't seen it, that's on you, right? The whole time he's fighting with himself. He's not fighting with someone else. It's all him. On a deeper level, we can say that if you think about what the Rashbam just taught us, it turns out that the greatest struggle that Yaakov had that night was with himself, was with stepping into the role that he was being put into, accepting the role that he was being put into. You see what's going on here? His struggle was not with Esav or with Esav's angel. It was with himself and his confidence and his faith and his trust and his commitment. And you know what? It's never about the other. It's always about ourselves. We're never really fighting with the other one. It's always an internal battle. It's always fighting self. And so that answers the question, this mysterious question. Vayavaser Yaakov levado, vayavik ishimo. Jacob was alone, and he struggled, and he wrestled. Well, if he's alone, who did he wrestle with? You know what the deepest answer is? He's wrestling with himself. He was wrestling with this concept. Will I be? Can I muster the strength to be the man who God believes in? The person who God has entrusted this mission to. Can I be that person? Remember, the biggest battles are always the internal battles. What happens outside of ourselves is the manifestation of that internal battle. So all night long, cue up the song, right? All night long, who's he fighting with? Himself. He's fighting with his own demons. I don't know, maybe not demons. He's fighting with his own insecurities, with his own imposter syndrome, with his own sense of inadequacy, with his own, struggles or challenges with fear. And he's definitely afraid. There's no doubt when you read the passages the way they're written in Torah that he is afraid and he has to deal with that. But you know what? We've all been there. Everyone in this room and everyone online, all of us have been in a situation where there was something that we needed to do, something that was calling us to do it, and we were afraid. And we had to, and we did one of two things. Either we took our foot off the pedal and chickened out, or we went ahead and we swallowed hard and we said, you know what? I got to do this. I got to make the tough decisions. I have to make the tough move. I have to do the challenging and difficult thing. And we just went ahead and did it. And you know what? That represents a triumph over self. It's not over the other one. And you know what happens after that? Of course, the encounter goes fine. Because the greatest fear was the fear of the encounter, not the encounter itself. Yeah, how often does that happen in our lives? That we're afraid of this conversation or of this situation, and then the moment we overcome that fear and actually have the conversation, it goes way better than we thought. It was like, what were you even afraid of? Well, guess what? The greatest challenge wasn't the one that was with the other person, the Esav outside. It was with the Yaakov inside. That's always the greatest challenge. And so what's the bracha? What's the blessing that Yaakov gets? You're no longer a Yaakov. You're a Yisrael. You've assumed your strength. You're no longer, a fearful fellow, an underhanded fellow, whatever it is. Now you are a boss. You have attained boss mode because you have attained self-mastery, because you were able to overcome your own inner fears. And that is the strongest, most difficult battle of all. I want to conclude with a series of texts. We'll do this very quickly.
So is that why the angel didn't say his name?
Yeah. So getting back to so yeah, we've answered all the questions. Within all three interpretations, we've answered all the questions. But regarding the question of why didn't the angel answer? Because according to this third interpretation, there wasn't an angel. It was him. And it was almost a self-dialogue. And when his question is, what's your name? You don't have to answer, because the moment you acknowledge that there's some deeper strength within you, it doesn't need to be named, right? It's not like you need the other to answer. It's a little bit of a mind-twisting thing, but I think it kind of makes sense. All right, here's what I want to do. I want to do a series of texts, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh my gosh, so many. 13. Okay, all right, buckle up. We're going to go through these very quickly. They all say the same thing, and that is be confident, believe in yourself. And believe in yourself is not ego, not ego. Don't believe yourself, ego. Oh, I'm the best. Trust Hashem, that Hashem gave you the ability, gave you everything you need to accomplish your mission. If God has faith in you, don't question God. Because you know what that means? If I don't trust myself, you know what that means? Oh, God's got it wrong. God thinks I can do it, but I know I can't. You know what that means? You're calling out God and saying God's got it wrong. That's not where we want to be with all this. So I'm going to read through. I will read these. I'm going to read through a series of texts. They're all beautiful. They're all relatively, I don't know if they're short, but they're all concise. Here we go. Text number 8. I went too far here. Text number 8. This is on page 141 in the books, in the booklets. Humility, says the Baal Shem Tov, can sometimes backfire. It can actually distance one from serving God, because when someone sees themselves as lowly, they may not believe that their Torah and prayer bring blessing to all the world, or that even the angels are sustained by their spiritual work. But if they truly believe that, imagine how joyfully and reverently they would serve God, overwhelmed by the weight and privilege of it. Take this to heart and remind yourself, you are a ladder standing on the earth with its top reaching the heavens. Every step you take, every word you speak, every action you do, it all leaves a mark above. So, a vote of confidence from the Baal Shem Tov. Let's continue. The previous Rabbi, text number 9, says, just as a person must be aware of their own shortcomings, they must also be aware of their strengths. Don't shortchange yourself by underestimating your ability. Rav Nachman of Breslov, the great Rabbi Nachman, is quoted to say the following: when the Rebbe, this is text number 10, when the Rebbe, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, said this teaching, I stood before him stunned, my thoughts overwhelmed by the idea. He responded with a hint of rebuke, saying, and if you have faith, do you not have faith in yourself? Hastu indir kenamunanit. He immediately quoted the sages. What caused the righteous to lose their reward in the world to come? The smallness they had within themselves. They didn't believe in themselves. The real smallness of their faith wasn't in God, it was in themselves. They didn't believe that God is truly good to all, or that they too are precious and important in his eyes. And that's where the smallness comes from. A person must believe in themselves that they too are beloved to God, because the greater God's goodness is, the more it means you too are great and significant in his eyes. I mean, talk about self-esteem, but really God esteem. God believes in you. Who are you to not believe in yourself? Who are you to be so humble? How dare you? Text 11, the great Rav Tzaddik of Lublin. We're going through the best of the Hasidic masters. Just as a person must believe in God, they must also believe in themselves. In other words, you must believe that God has a relationship with you, that you're not some aimless creature here one day and gone the next, like an animal in the field that disappears after death. Rather, you must believe that your soul comes from the source of life and that God takes pleasure and is delighted when you do his will. Rav Menachem Nachum Tversky of Chernobyl, the Chernobyl Rebbe, says the following. This is text number 12. Jacob's struggle wasn't just personal. It was on behalf of all the future events, challenges, and spiritual dynamics that would unfold through the generations that would come from him. Through that battle, Jacob, our forefather, paved the way for us. Because of his immense spiritual capacity, he was able to defeat the negative forces so that they wouldn't harm his descendants in the future. Jacob foresaw all the generations to come and sought to prepare a path for them to walk in God's ways and to subdue all forces of opposition. That's the meaning behind the wrestling described in the Torah, and a man wrestled with him. It was for the sake of his children and all future generations, all the way to the coming of Mashiach. And that's why the Torah says it lasted until the break of dawn, which refers to the verse in Isaiah, then your light will burst forth like the dawn, a reference to the era of Mashiach, which means that if Jacob could do it, he paved the way for us to do it as well. I want to conclude with a story which is beautiful, and you may have heard it before, but it's one of my favorite parables about the turkey prince. Again, from Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. It's a parable that he related. There was once a prince, listen to this. There was once a prince who lived with his father and mother, the king and queen, in a splendid fashion. He received the finest education and upbringing. To his parents' chagrin, one day the prince went through an identity crisis and came to the conclusion that he was really a turkey and not a human being. It's very apropos for Thanksgiving. He thought he was a turkey. Initially, the king and queen thought he was kidding. However, after he stopped joining them at the royal table and instead moved under the table and sat there naked and pecking at crumbs, they knew that serious trouble was afoot. Needless to say, the prince's strange behavior caused indescribable angst for the loving parents and intense embarrassment for the royal family at large. The king was ready to spare no expense for the person who could cure his son. The finest doctors and psychiatrists of the land came and tried to cure the prince, all to no avail. The king was at a loss until a gentle-looking wise man came to the palace. I hereby offer to cure the prince free of charge, declared the man. My only condition is that no one interferes with anything I do. Intrigued and desperate, the king and queen readily agreed. The following day, the prince had company under the table. It was the wise man. What are you doing here? Asked the turkey prince. Why are you here? Countered the man. I'm a turkey, responded the prince emphatically. Well, I am also a turkey, the man replied. With that, he began to gobble like a turkey and peck at the crumbs on the floor. The prince was convinced. A few days passed in this fashion. One morning, the wise man signaled to the king to bring him a shirt. He said to the prince, I don't see any reason a turkey can't wear a shirt. The prince thought about it and agreed, and soon the two of them were wearing shirts. Soon the wise man asked to be brought a pair of pants. He said to the prince, is it forbidden for turkeys to wear pants? Certainly not. The prince thought it over and agreed, and soon the two of them were wearing pants. So the process continued. Shortly thereafter, the wise man convinced the turkey prince that it was not forbidden for turkeys to eat human food, which was surely tastier, then came sitting at the table and enjoying human conversation. Within a short time, the turkey prince, although still maintaining that he was a turkey, began conducting himself exactly like a regular person. And what's the moral of the story? Fortunately, most of us don't suffer from turkey complexes. But here's a question we can all ask of ourselves. Am I limiting my potential because of my self-perception? Let's not think of ourselves as turkeys. Let's think of ourselves as stuffing. I'm kidding. Let's think of ourselves as noble human beings, pieces of God that are empowered to create the most majestic change here on planet Earth with the gifts that God has given us. And let us not let God down, because in executing or displaying false humility, the only thing that happens, we don't become more righteous in the process. The only thing that happens is that we don't get good things done. And that shortchanges the world and ourselves and God's plan. And who needs that? So, my friends, let us believe in ourselves. Let us see ourselves through the eyes that God sees us with, and recognize that we too have a mission like Jacob to accomplish. Let's not chicken out or even turkey out. Let's embrace the calling that we have to make a difference and make the world a better place. And let us say, Amen. Thank you all for joining tonight. I hope you found this intriguing. 3 dimensions. Thank you. 3 dimensions. 3 dimensions. It was an angel. It was an angel. Or it was Yaakov. Either way, the message is clear. Don't run away. Don't run away from your mission. Embrace it and take it on. All right. That's it for tonight. I do want to mention, I have not yet put this out, but Monday night, we are having a film screening of a brand new documentary film that seeks to uncover the current whereabouts, that's what I'm looking for, of the ancient temple menorah. What happened to the menorah? Is it in Jerusalem? Is it buried under the temple? Is it in Rome? Is it somewhere deep in the catacombs? Is that the right word? Of the Vatican? Where is it? What do we believe? What does the evidence point to? A brand new documentary seeks to uncover the status, the location of the temple menorah, the golden menorah of the temple. You don't want to miss this. It's a 63-minute film. It is amazing. It goes to Israel and to Rome, interviews and never seen before footage, all coming your way this Monday night as we get ready for Hanukkah. It's a beautiful, perfect film occasion to check out. All right, so that's happening. Also, on your sheets, you will see at the back of the booklets our brand new upcoming course. The next JLI course starting in January is called Captivating Cases in Rabbinic Responsa, 30 stories from across Jewish history that bring Jewish law to life. And on the back of this, you can see some of the questions that we're going to address. 1380, Valencia, buying up half the seats in the synagogue and charging rent. Is that even legal? Can you imagine? You thought Taylor Swift resellers were rude. What about buying up seats in the synagogue before the holidays and then reselling them? Can you imagine? Right, the shul charges $180 for a seat, and now the secondary market has it up to $1,000. Unbelievable. 1866 Poland. There's a weird new breed of chicken. Is it even kosher? Is that the turkey? Maybe. 1450 Spain. Can I celebrate Passover without tipping off the Inquisition? 1478 in Germany. 17 Jews are imprisoned after a blood libel. Who must pay their ransom? 1944 Auschwitz. Can I ransom my son if another will be killed in his place? 2003 Florida. I'm headed to outer space. When do I keep Shabbat? All real questions, all dealt with by rabbis throughout the centuries. This is going to be a course that you will remember for years to come. Please join us. The course is ready to roll. You can already sign up on our website, the Torah Center ATL.org. Find new and exciting surprises every day. Not necessarily every day, but quite often you put up new stuff and check it out. It's a lot of fun. All right. Good? Makes sense? All right. That's all I got. Thank you very much for joining.